Suzanne, I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
Deaf soccer has had so much success recently. The deaf national teams, tons of success on the field. We have a couple of the players in the crowd tonight. You've increased your numbers. You're just doing so many great things at deaf soccer. What are you the most excited about? And can you share with this group how you've done what you've been able to do so far?
That is a big question. All right, here we go.
We'll have fun with it.
I'm going to do my best here. We are in this ready-to-launch moment with deaf soccer. Our organization was really designed to support our national team. So all of our resources, time, energy, talent all went toward making sure our national teams were successful. When they became extended national teams, that gave us this incredible opportunity to reimagine ourselves. And so we are in that phase of development right now. So have you ever watched the movie Ready to Launch? That's exactly where we are. So this year is a year of first. We have a strategic plan that is focused on grassroots development. We are going to be hiring our first executive director. We're going to be contracting with an organization that's going to help us with our brand awareness so people know about U.S. Deaf Soccer Association. We have an Innovate to Grow grant. Thank you very much for that.
You are very welcome. Thanks for applying. I had no role in awarding them, though.
But you can say thank you. Can say
you
okay. Well, appreciate it. So that's going to help us to start to build that infrastructure that we need in order to reach the youth population in the United States. There's about 4,000 youth, deaf and hard of hearing folks that we want to say, hey, how about play soccer? A lot of youth, deaf youth, are currently playing on, say, their middle school team or their high school team or on club teams. We don't want to change that at all. What we want to do is, because there's really no modification other than a little bit of refereeing change in terms of the game for deaf players, is we want to build an infrastructure that's a part of other organizations, say youth futsal. So we develop youth deaf teams within that infrastructure. We also want to partner with other disability soccer groups like CP Soccer, who has other Adapt and Thrive activities going on. So we can be a part of those as well. So in this moment, we are getting ready to launch.
Fantastic. Hans, I mean, Tennessee has seen amazing growth. Since 2019, check me on the numbers. These are the numbers my team gave me, and I've talked all day long about how amazing our staff is, so I hope this is correct. That you have doubled your participation numbers since 2019. So not only have you gotten back up to pre-COVID numbers, you have doubled your number of participation. All right, 3,000 registered referees. Tell me, what is your secret? How have you done this?
Gosh, I attribute it to two things. I think one, Cindy Parlow Cone came from Tennessee, so everybody's like, if we go through Tennessee, that might get my kid to that level. And then number two, I feel like half of California has moved to Tennessee in the last 2 years. So that may be a reason for the numbers. But no, we actually stole a play from you guys, the membership services team. We, a few years ago, felt like we needed to care for our people better. And as somebody that's run a club, I thought I knew what people wanted, but until we actually went to them and figured out, hey, what is it that you need? What is it that you want? We really couldn't fix that problem. So we hired 2 people in our membership services team, and then we started going to them and kind of telling our story. For example, my story is 15-year-old Hans. When my parents were divorced when I was 15. And for me, soccer was that place, that safe place that I could go to. So being able to tell that story, people didn't run away. They're like, oh man, I can lean into that. And so we're like, what's your story? What's your why? And then what is it that you need? So I think us being open, honest, vulnerable as a state association allowed many of our clubs to then look at us and go, they're real. They really want to help us. So many days for us, it feels like we're probably running around with our hair on fire, trying to figure out what does it look like.
I have no idea what that's like.
Yeah, I'm sure. But what does it look like to make it safer? How do we ensure our kids? How do we protect our kids? But really, when it's working well, it's how are we removing those barriers and how are we creating new pathways for them to find soccer? And an example of that would look like just in the last week, we were talking to one of our MLS club, Nashville SC, and we're working with the Nashville City Metro school system right now and our coaching department to have them come into the stadium, work on coaching education, and then once they leave, we're going to supply them with balls and equipment that they don't already have. So providing equipment, providing education to that group, and these are new kids that haven't played the game before.
That's so awesome. And growing up in Tennessee, my team was the only girls' team in my entire club. There were 2 boys' teams, and then my team for the girls' team. So it's so cool to see the growth in Tennessee. So keep it going. Now, Robin, you're for those of you who don't know, Robin's with Oregon Adults. So obviously the adult game is different than the youth game. But still, you've been able to increase your participation by 15%. And so I'm curious, I think a lot of the focus sometimes is on the youth level. And I think we need to do more with the adults and focusing on adults and how do we increase participation and how do we bring outside groups within the U.S. Soccer umbrella under the state associations. So what have you done, what innovative things have you done in order to increase the participation like you have?
Well, I'm going to talk about it on 2 levels. One is the state level, and then the other is on the national level, because I'm also on the board of the adults. And the adults, we have different challenges. So for youth, you have a player who plays on a team, and they play for a club, and the club is part of, U.S. Soccer, U.S. Club, or AYSO, and that's a national organization. And so there's all this help. And of course, 7-year-old Joey's going to make the national team, so everyone has a goal. The adults are very different. You have 54 different state associations, and we're part of, the number of us are part of U.S. Adults. Well, Alaska is very different than Florida, and Hawaii is very different than Eastern New York. And so to have...
In a lot of ways.
In a lot. The Region 1 meeting is very different than the Region 4 meeting, let me tell you. And so each state association really operates independently. And so what we've done as a board is we've tried to find some similarities and allow people to help each other. We've hired a member services representative who's now going to help states that might not have the same support that, say, Oregon does. And so in Oregon, we're very fortunate because we have a paid executive director. A lot of states run on a single volunteer who's registering anywhere from 500 players to 7,000 players, but we have a executive director who is fantastic, and she has staff support, and so we're able to do outreach, and so we're able. We have the Timbers Army is one of our leagues. I don't know if you've been to a Timber game and you've seen the Army. They have a league, and they're one of our affiliated leagues. But she has the capacity to do a lot of outreach and. All over the state, and so we've really been able to grab onto these folks and bring them in, and that's how we've increased our leagues. Fantastic.
Evan, I'm going to shift the focus a little bit with you. Coming from New Jersey, we just got the schedule for the World Cup finals coming to New York, New Jersey.
Oh, it is?
Yeah,
Cool.
It's late breaking news.
Thanks. Sweet. I'm excited.
So being in New Jersey, partnerships and collaborations are critical. And how is your team in New Jersey thinking about partnership in the ecosystem and building off of, you're one of the few people that are a host city for the World Cup. So how are you looking to take advantage of this?
So first, when you think of partnerships, and I'll translate it also to relationships, it's the ability, and it's not always easy to think long-term because it's not an immediate return on an investment for your time and otherwise. So using the World Cup as an example, that process started as soon as we could. That Sunday announcement was the end of journey number 1, and we know that starts, but the relationship started as soon as we could, to get aggressive and being there, to not to ask for anything other than to say, how can we help? The host committee, we learned, is ramping up, not the most resourced at the start. So from day one is what can we do? How can we help organize the committee? How can we raise awareness to the youth soccer community? We started talking about how can we start to pull together the college coach community, the high school coach community. Let's just be proactive, because that's gonna obviously have the return on investment in the relationships. And the joke that I'll get out is, yes, it's not that I'm doing that to get to the games and get a ticket, because that's the first thing that everyone asks. But if I put a kind of a slightly positive spin on it, the reality is if we do that right, the answer should be that we want to be there when that time is for celebration. I was fortunate enough to be there on Sunday when that announcement came, and just feel like we did in some small way support their efforts to be successful. And ultimately that's for our community, and that's our job. The other part of relationships is also about innovating, and I think of just a couple specific initiatives. We had a yellow wristband initiative that someone else grew, respecting minors and referees, and we really want that to be successful. So we reached out not just to our member leagues, but other governing bodies, to get the word out. There's common ground, like everyone wins in that. USL and MLS all were supportive of this, and that just raises so much credibility for the initiative. And the last part that I think in terms of relationships is the MLS Go came out with their initiative, and there was a lot of questions about what that was about and how it would relate. It was different. And again, the strategy was to think long-term and to just reach out and to talk about what that could be and how can we work together. And I think we're on a good path as that goes. So the relationship, as I approach it, is just to think long-term, because the immediate isn't going to have that desired effect. But if you do it right, you do the right things, I'm going to be doing the right thing for our membership.
Great. What great leaders these four are, right? This is all fantastic, but we do know that behind every great leader is a great team. So can each of you talk to me about how you've gone about to build your team, whether it's volunteer or paid team? Every single one of you have a great team behind you. So if you can talk a little bit about that. Suzanne, you want to start us off?
You bet. We're a little different in that we are absolutely volunteer-driven organization. I think we have a board member in every single time zone. So think about trying to pull board meetings together. And we're also going through a lot of change, but change can be both hard and it can be a real connector as well. So part of the job, my job as the president of the board, is to set the vision. And so as we look forward, we're looking forward as far as 5 years. What is this organization going to look like? What can we get excited about from our strategic plan? And we celebrate the successes. That is one of the most important things, is celebrating the successes. We know that things are not going to be easy going forward because we're reimagining the organization, but boy, do we have a lot to look forward to.
Robin?
Did I turn it off?
You want to try this one?
Okay, got it. Nope, got it. I would say, we have, our goal is playing opportunities for adults, and they are everywhere from the player who wants to go have a beer on Sunday, and then the player
That's
who wants
me.
to...
But I don't want to do that. I want to skip the playing part and just go have the beer.
That's right. And then, the more competitive leagues and the people who are, trying to get a spot in the National Amateur Cup. And so I think that as a board, the structure of our board has changed, and our staff at for U.S. Adult Soccer has changed, and they're really devoted to, I think, paying particular attention to every state association to help them gain membership. And we are almost all volunteer-based. I know I talk about my executive director, who is a paid member, but most of the folks in offices are volunteers, and so. But I think that from a national perspective, we're really paying more attention to people and giving them more resources, and I think that's allowing them to help grow their member base.
Great.
For me, we brought in a consultant about 5 years ago because I thought when I took this position I was going to be a really good leader. I coach teams and I love coaching people. but until you bring that third person in to really look at it and go, hey, are you doing a good job? There was a survey, and it was like, hey, here's some green areas where you're doing really well, Hans, and here's some red areas. And it was hard. But it was my staff being able to look at me and say, hey, these are the areas that you can be better. It was life-changing. We focus on our mission, our focus, our filter, our foundation, our vision, the flag on the hill, the direction that we're trying to go, and our core values each and every day. Very similar to what you guys have said. We celebrate our wins. That might be an outing to Top Golf or whatever it might be. We also try and serve our community. We were planning a trip to serve some homeless in the coming months. So just trying to find ways that we can work together to serve our community, to build relationships, and create that trust on a daily basis is important. And I've got a great staff. I've got 8 people on staff, and I can go to things like this and know that they're there. The why causes them to get up and run to work each and every day. So I think it's really focusing on that mission, focusing on your vision, and creating a culture that people want to get behind.
So to complement those stories, I'm looking at Dave Wright, so I thought of some history. My former job was with MLS, so it was in the events and in charge of the event operations for All-Star Cup with stadium operations, security, et cetera. And then, felt like I had some responsibility. And then I came into a new environment with New Jersey Youth Soccer. And with the state cups, my first job responsibility was making sure there's enough toilet paper in the restrooms.
Very important.
Yes, and I nailed it. And fortunately, things progress. You work through evolution of a changing, organization, and I think that hopefully on some level you lead by example. Every task is there's nothing too little in our relatively small organizations, and that's relative. We have a staff of 10, and we know others are dealing with staff of fewer than that. But what I hope that showed was, I was here as part of a team. I needed to earn their trust. I hope it earned something in that exercise. And from there, it's empowering them, to go out and support as we do different things. I talked about relationships. I'm not necessarily every day, doing the things that I did because we want to look differently. We want to look longer term, and that requires having the support of people to make the ship go every single day. So just a different take on everything that everyone said, and thank you.
No, thank you guys. You guys are doing the work.
You're doing pretty well yourself, by the way.
Thanks. Appreciate that. So as you can tell, with this AGM, we tried to add a ton more program, more services for our members, more education for our members. So I'm just curious, what were your key takeaways from this AGM? And then more generally, what are you most looking forward to? Robin, you can start this one. Suzanne's had to start every time.
She's still handing it to
You're
her.
a leader,
Did you see
Suzanne.
that?
I need a moment to think about this.
Someone lead, please.
Oh, gosh, key takeaways. I think I heard the word ecosystem more this weekend. No, I'm excited about, I think just partnership with the Federation. I've heard other people say it, but feeling included, being part of conversations. And we all know we've got an incredible runway here the next 4 or 5 years, and if we don't get it right, then shame on us. So I think looking out here at everybody, people are motivated to work together. And I know I'm looking at Evan to my right, and he and I are constantly talking about, hey, what are you guys doing up there in New Jersey, and what are you doing in Tennessee? So the more relationships that we can build upon and see where we're doing it right, I think we're only going to get better.
And I'll just jump on that because I don't want to deviate too far on that point. But it's looking at ourselves. I think too often, we know we have a lot to solve and a lot of things we can do better. And I think we'll all sometimes look at what someone else can do. But I'll encourage us and challenge us while that happens is really, I'm sure the coaches would talk about control the controllables. There's things that we can control. And Hans and I, and others are taking a look at what we do because we need to do our jobs better, and we can do our jobs better, and hopefully that has a ripple effect.
I think the content is great, but I think what I enjoyed the most is the change that I've seen in U.S. soccer since I first got involved at this level. Just the energy level of the U.S. soccer staff, the energy of the board, sort of the changing landscape of that. I think that trickles down. And I know it's trickled down to our board. We don't look like we used to, and it brings in new ideas, and I think youth is great, brings in new ideas. I think that history is great, so I think having people from all different areas and with different experiences, I think I think that we could all probably see the change in this AGM versus an AGM 10 years ago. And that's really exciting. I look forward to that trickling down to us even more.
Well, for me, from the disability soccer organization side, the inclusive opportunities here this weekend have been unprecedented. And I really believe we're leaning into that one team, one nation feel, and I really look forward to that continued momentum going forward. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. And as I've said many times, and I'll say it again, it's not just me. It's our entire organization, our entire staff, and also you guys pushing us, right? And I know we say it all the time. We want your feedback. Tell us. I was an elite athlete, so I'm used to constructive criticism, so bring it on. Because if we don't know about the problem, we can't fix it. So, and we know we've made a lot of good strides in the right direction, but we know we all have a lot more work to do, so bring it on. But let's give a round of applause for these 4 great leaders. I mean, what awesome stuff they're doing. Thank you, guys.